fans, it's me once again, Little Al Davis. That's right, Little Al Davis coming to you back again with another edition of Little Al Davis TV. Woo-wee, Raider Nation, today was an ugly ass win against the awful Jacksonville Jaguars. But you know what, the way I see it, Raider Nation, it's the NFL, and it's any given Sunday, a win's a win. Today's performance, as I mentioned, was fucking ugly. It was uglier than fucking Miley Cyrus's performance at the VMAs when she started twerking with her flat ass. That's how ugly today's victory was. But you know what? Like I mentioned, it's a W. It's a win in the win-loss column, and we'll take it. We're 1-1. So with that, Raider Nation, sit back, relax, and enjoy this recap. All right, Raider fans. First off, on the defensive side of the ball, damn, our defense stepped up again today. This is the second week in the row, Raider Nation, that the Raider defense held their opponent to 300 yards. Last week against the Colts, they gave up 274 yards. Today, they gave up 248 yards. That's impressive, man. Jason Tarver's dialing up these blitzes. He's having people come from out of nowhere. He's activating his players, as he likes to call it. Today, the defensive line, they stepped up. They played gap with gap integrity. They played their asses off today. We had 5 sacks. We were swarming to the ball on defense, man. The one thing that I want to see is I want to see turnovers. We need to cause turnovers, and that's the one thing we haven't done thus far. So again, that's something that we can improve on. But overall, like I said, the defense looked great today. Tavon Branch goes down with hopefully it's not a high ankle sprain, but according to Dennis Allen, it's a significant injury, and it looks like he's going to be out for some time. But when he goes down, Osama Young comes in, and he plays his ass off. He comes in, and he has 1.5 sacks today on the game. That was beautiful right there. Like I mentioned, our defense, they only gave up 34 yards rushing today, Raider Nation. 34 yards. I want to mention Pat Sims, Vance Walker, and Jason Hunter, those 3 defensive linemen, along with Lamar Houston. They all stepped up. They played with great gap integrity today. They were containing, and they were playing great rush defense today, man. Those 3 guys, they're not household names like fucking Tommy Kelly and what's his name, Richard Seymour. But you know what? I'll take these 3 guys any given Sunday over those high-priced, overpaid players that didn't come to play on Sunday. McKenzie brought in those 3 guys, like I mentioned, Pat Sims, Vance Walker, and Jason Hunt during the offseason, and they've been contributing. They've been playing, you know, spectacular for us in the last 2 weeks. And as I mentioned, speaking of offseason moves, what about Charles Woodson? Replacing Michael Huff with Charles Woodson was by far the best offseason move that Reggie McKenzie's made. He was all over the place today, Raider fans. He came in, he had 6 tackles. He was my MVP for today's game on defense, man. He had that over-the-top clothesline tackle on 2nd and goal in the 2nd quarter, and he laid out fucking Maurice Jones-Drew. He took him out with some type of ankle injury. That was beautiful right there. Charles Woodson was all over the place. Charles Woodson was brought in for his leadership and his defensive discipline. Man, that guy's doing it. His actions are speaking for themselves. He's a true leader, and he's bringing that discipline to our defense that we've needed. Richard Seymour, he was supposedly brought in for the same reasons. You know what? I'll take Charles Woodson over Richard Seymour as a leader anytime in the Raider locker room, man. Charles Woodson, like I already mentioned, was my MVP for today's game. The other person that had a hell of a game was Lamar Houston. He didn't have a sack today, but he was pressuring the quarterback. He was disrupting the line of scrimmage. He had that one critical stop. The Jacksonville Jaguars tried to do an end around, and he stayed home. He contained, and he played discipline, and he stopped it for a 9-yard loss. That was beautiful right there, man. The other person that played balls out today was Tracy Porter. He redeemed himself from last week's lackluster performance against the Colts. This week, he stepped up. He had a lot of good plays today on defense. And like I mentioned, man, the defense today played spectacular. They helped their opponent again to under 300 yards. Man, that was beautiful. Now, let's go on to the offensive side of the ball. All right, Raider fans, on the offensive side of the ball, man, it was great to see the Raiders come out to a fast start. After that Phillip Adams 30-yard punt return to set us up with great field position, the Raiders marched down the field, and we finally scored on our opening possession. Raider fans, that's the first time that the Raiders have scored on their opening drive since week 17 of the 2011 season. It's been a long-ass time, and for us to start off fast, that was great for us. That was just impressive right there. And after that, yeah, we kind of, we sputtered after that. But just to see Darren McFadden finally getting those touches and finally going over the century mark, he had 129 yards, Raider fans. Yeah, he had that fumble late in the game, but man, he played like a man possessed. He played like a man trying to get paid. Darren McFadden played his ass off today. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Marcel Reese only had 2 touches today. He had that one, I believe it was an 11-yard touchdown run in the first possession, as I mentioned. But after that, we didn't get him involved. We got to try to find ways to get Marcel Reese more involved in our offense, man. The fact that we had 340 yards of offense, yeah, that's impressive. Every week in the last 2 weeks, we've gained over 300 yards on offense. Terrell Pryor limited his mistakes today. He only threw for 126 yard Raider fans, but he didn't have those mistakes. Terrell Pryor was able to limit the amount of mistakes that he had today. He didn't have any costly turnovers like he did last week against the Colts. Today he was able to manage the game. He was able to move the ball consistently. Like I mentioned, he only had 126 yards passing and 9 carries for 50 yards. It wasn't a spectacular performance, but again, he was able to manage the game and get us that W that we needed, man. The other thing I want to see the offense improve on is on third downs. Today we were just awful. We were 4 for 14 on third down conversions. We couldn't pick up first downs when it mattered the most. I want to see us improve on that. The other thing that I want to mention is last week our offensive line, I gave them high praise for coming together, and it was a patchwork offensive line. They did a great job this week. They did great opening holes, but Lucas Nix, I gotta call that guy out. Our guard, Lucas Nix, he played horrible today. He fucking gave up that sack late in the game to, was it Mincy from their defensive lineman, just did a swim technique and he punked them. And then before that, he missed that critical block in the goal line. When Rashad Jennings would have picked up that first down in the third quarter, Lucas Nix trips and he misses that block. He missed like 2 key blocks that could have spun us and gave us positive yards. So I'm really hoping that Reggie McKenzie can find, someone to replace Lucas Nix, because that guy was horrible today. Other than that, the offensive line, I give them credit. They played decent today. They opened up holes, like I mentioned, for Darren McFadden. The other person I want to mention on that offensive line is Tony Pashus. Man, he's came in and we picked him up off of waivers. He's been with us for 2 weeks, and he's played admirable on that right side of the line. I just wanted to throw that out there and let you guys all know that I appreciate the way Tony Pashus has come in and played like a true veteran. The other thing I want to mention, Raider fans, is what was up with our red zone offense. We scored 1 touchdown inside the red zone today. We were 1 for 5. What was up with the play calling? I don't know if it was just a lack of execution once we got down there, or we just started playing conservative, but Greg Olson's got to be more aggressive when it comes to our play calling once we get down into the red zone. Today we were 1 for 5, as I mentioned. We need to be able to execute when we're down in the trenches in the red zone. The other thing is, what was up with Janikowski going 4 for 5? Yeah, he settled down after that 35-yard miss, but I don't want to hear that bullshit that Marquette King is a bad placeholder, because you know what? He's working on improving that. It's just all in Janikowski's mind. Like I mentioned, he settled down after that first 35-yarder that he missed. But again, we can't settle for field goals against the Broncos. And as I mentioned, today was an ugly-ass win. It was uglier than Miley Cyrus's twerking performance at the MTV VMA Awards. But man, we gotta improve on today's victory. I want to see us improve, Raider fans. Yeah, we beat the lonely Jacksonville Jaguars, and as I mentioned, it was an ugly-ass win. But fuck it, it's the NFL, and a win's a win. It's any given Sunday. And like I mentioned, I don't want to look too far ahead, but next week we cannot afford to kick field goals and settle for 3 points against the Denver Donkeys. I don't want to look too far ahead, but let's celebrate. Let's enjoy today's win. But as I mentioned, next week is going to be a tough test against the Denver Donkeys, and I want to see us execute in third down efficiencies, and I want to see us execute when we're down in the red zone as well. So with that, Raider fans, leave a comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think about today's win against the awful Jacksonville Jaguars, and what you guys expect to see next week on Monday Night Football against the Denver Donkeys, because it's going down in Mile High on Monday night, baby. That's right. I'm Little Al Davis. Leave a comment, subscribe, and I'm out. Just win, baby.